Rayman is a cool series. He has hands, feet, aubergine? I never beat Rayman 1. I got as far as Bongo Hills, but never conquered it. Rayman 1 on the PlayStation, I mean. Not Rayman 1 on the Game Boy Advance, or Rayman 1 on the Game Boy Color, or Rayman 1 on the personal computer, or Rayman Gold, which includes a Rayman level designer, Rayman Forever, which includes Rayman Gold, Rayman on DS, which was just a port of the PC version, Rayman on Sega Saturn, Rayman on Atari Jaguar. Even the Atari Jaguar? Blimey, didn't he get around, eh? Gives a whole new meaning to the term platformer, doesn't it? He's on every single gaming platform that exists. The toaster, the car, dishwasher, yes. No one can match that level of platforming. You ain't never seen Mario on the radio. One thing that always perplexed me about this game is its connection to the following entries in the series. Did Rayman meet Globox in Rayman 1? Was Batilla the Fairy in any way connected to Lee? Was anything connected at all? I would wonder about these things, and to this day I still have not done the obvious and looked it up. Of course I could just play the game and find out for myself, but unfortunately, Rayman 1 on the PlayStation is the hardest game ever made. Anyone who's tried to beat it knows what I mean. Things are totally unforgiving. Shit appears out of nowhere, deliberately to fuck you up if you didn't know it's coming. Enemies and obstacles will spawn all around if you dare to collect helpful power-ups, sometimes. 90% of the floor is instant death pits, and the hitboxes for Rayman and everything else are wildly incomprehensible. Is this the edge? How about this? More importantly, where will I land? Will I land according to my front foot? Or my middle? Is it somewhere in between? What about hanging off the side? At what point am I going to hang from a platform as opposed to land on it? Sometimes you want to hang onto a platform to hide from a projectile or prevent damage from one of these little buggers, so I need to know how far from the platform I have to be before that happens, but I have no frame of reference. Am I close enough? I gotta decide if I'm close enough soon, because if I'm not quite close enough, I'll just... Fuck! Shit. I fell. It's a beast of a game, but I've never really tried to tackle it for any significant amount of time. I can do this now. I'm not a Ray boy anymore. I'm a real boy! And I'm gonna play video games.
You want to know what's going on? Let me tell you the story of Rayman. In Rayman's world, nature and people definitely need a hero to save them now! Don't you think? Rayman to the rescue!
No problem.
No problem? What a way to introduce what would soon become one of the big mascot platformer guys. A layabout, overconfident guy. Is he a guy? Aubergine? Yeah! Well, shit! This game's easy! You know it's hard. I just told you, there's no hiding from it. I can't pull the wool over your eyes, 'cause the sheep all got stolen in that other review. And that was a joke. Turn back now to the other. Turn back to what I was doing before, you know. That was a joke. I was cutting away to a joke. And now I'm doing this. I'm just going to sit like this. I'm going to play the game. Pressing buttons, you know, all that sort of stuff. Play the game. Just want to make a note of Rayman's smooth moves here. How can somebody with such a huge nose and no dick be that cool?
No one will ever know!
You seriously didn't know how to punch? You seriously didn't know how to hang? Okay, hanging is... The punching is kind of special, really. Even though your fists are detached from your body like everyone else, it makes sense that being able to throw your fists very far would be a special power that a fairy could bestow upon you. Hanging is just a thing. Anyone can just do that. Look, I'll do it right now. So let's go over the basics for those that don't know Rayman. Mr. Dark steals the orb. With no orb, the Electoons scatter and are captured by some bastards who are allegedly responsible. Rayman uses his newfound ability to punch and beat the ever-loving shit out of everybody and free the Electoons to save the world. 3 hits and you're dead. There's a power-up that gives you 5 hits and 2 punch power-ups that increase your punch speed and damage. Also, he jumps and his helicopters. And now you know Rayman, good job. It's a fun time. The animations are wild, the artwork is overall beautiful, and the environments are really detailed, even down to these little decorative mushrooms having a rather exuberant animation loop that has no reason to be that well animated, but they did it anyway. They got fuck shits of parallax scrolling, very weird and interesting locations, enemies, and platforms. Bandland is literally made of brass instruments and bongo drums. Eraser City is made of erasers and pencils and pins, and everything has eyes! Also, look at this little guy. It's a bunch of rocks and it's got a little rock hat, but it moves like a horse. Except when it does a sonic ball jump. That's so creative! I love him! The sound effects are really pleasant. The music ranges from to It's an overall lovely experience. I love stepping on the bongos and making a bongo noise. I love pummeling these little blackberries. I love bouncing on the snare drum guy. I love making friends with Bazit the Mosquito. I love sliding around on the pipes. I love this game! It's great! It's perfect! You know what's coming. The rage is coming. This game gets so hard. When do I lose my shit? Well, let's take a little sneak peek into the future to find out. The first real leap in difficulty was the area where you fight the first boss of the game, Mosquito's Nest. Each area on the map has a varying number of levels. You have to get to the end of the last area before you can get back to the world map and can save. You can't leave an area during any of the levels past the first one, where there's a back sign at the beginning. This makes it kind of an endurance run. You can't run away and recollect power-ups and extra lives in easier areas. You just gotta keep going. If you die, you have to keep going with only 3 health. If you lose all your lives, you get a game over. If you run out of continues, you go back to the main menu. All unsaved progress is lost, try again. It's pretty brutal. The Mosquito's Nest area starts off decently challenging with these dang swinging prickly pears. Fuck! I think now is a good time to talk about how Rayman jumps, because it's simultaneously good and bad. Well, it's not bad, it's hard. You don't get locked into a jumping arc, thankfully. Though in some motions you are locked into an arc, like after jumping from a slippy platform. When you're in the air, after you reach the peak of your jump, you can change direction, but only a little bit. The other way you can redirect yourself while in the air is if you do a standing jump, i.e. jump from a standing state instead of a walking state. From a standing jump, you have much more control over where you land, able to move left and right while in the air at a consistent speed, but overall you cover less distance in either direction. A walking jump locks you into that arc for half the airtime and allows you to change direction but only move a tiny distance. So if you make a mistake, it's hard to correct. The difference between these two jumps is immensely important to understand, because there are many instances in this game where you're on a moving platform like this plum and you need to time jumps with precision. So knowing whether you need to do a walking jump for distance or a standing jump for quick reactionary adjustments is crucial. As you can see here, I'm just a fucking idiot because you can change the direction of the plum by turning around. So I could have just waited until the prickly was in an ideal position to jump over. Anyway, this level gets progressively... Okay. The levels continually ramp up in difficulty until you get to an auto-scrolling level where you have to outrun Mosquito carrying a giant prickly pear. And it's not easy. The battle with Mosquito is much harder than the battle with Bazit earlier. He has lots more health and different attacks which involve huge objects that fill almost the entire screen. It requires a lot more quick thinking than any of the levels prior. But one good thing about the bosses in Rayman is that while they rely heavily on twitch reflex reactions and precise timing, they're not random. They have their attack pattern and stick to it until they lose a certain amount of health. Most attacks give you enough time to figure out where it's safe, so even if you don't know how to damage them, you can reliably dodge everything until you figure it out, with a few exceptions. Beating Mosquito was awesome. I had 1 health, but I managed to dodge everything and take him down on the first try. And I got the swing ring power up for doing so. I'd never gotten that before in all my years of kinda sorta playing Rayman. It was a triumphant experience. I was finally making serious progress in this game. I was gonna see everything. But then, I made a big mistake.